Everything picks up again at counter 2 inside a bingo club, where we see Raymond King sitting there, waiting real patiently to meet with a woman. At the very same moment, a handful of hitmen have already been hired to take out both King and the mysterious lady he's supposed to meet. When Anais arrives to meet up with him, the hit woman picks up on it right away. She instantly senses that this is a new assignment. That's when he shows her a photograph of the Sanchez family, Gino, his wife Edith, and their son Alberto. These folks left El Salvador with hopes of finding a new life in a foreign land. He explains to her that he doesn't want her to take them out. No, what he wants is for her to find them, because he's convinced she's the only one who could actually pull it off. Ray reminds her that he's retired now, and that he only takes on cases that really matter. Serious stuff. The woman responds by warning him. She's noticed the presence of more hitmen lurking in the area, even though she knows full well that they ain't after her, they're after King. Fully aware of the danger, King stands up, walks away from the table, and crosses the whole club to find shelter in the bathroom, trying to make a getaway. But no matter how far he runs, hiding just ain't an option anymore. Right at the perfect moment, he steps out of one of the stalls to face off with the armed men. He takes him down with a remarkable skill, using nothing but a pin. Yeah, a regular pin. Even though they're pointing loaded guns straight at him, the man finally manages to fight his way through all the chaos and make it out of the place. Since some of the hitmen were taken out by Anais herself, who also found herself in danger. Just when King thinks he's escaped from every last one of his attackers, a shot hits him right in the middle of the street, and he drops, taken out instantly. The next morning, Deputy Director Mary Beth Medina gets a call from the LAPD. They inform her of Raymond King's death, since she was listed as his emergency contact. When she gets to the hospital, she's given the task of identifying the body of her former boss. Then they show her something unsettling. The man had written a message on his arm with a pen, and it simply says, "Call the accountant." Meanwhile, we catch up with Christian Wolff, who's getting dressed up in his sharpest suit while reviewing a few financial stats. But at the last second, he changes his mind about wearing the black suit, since he's heading to a romance festival in the city looking for the perfect girl. Just like him, plenty of other guys show up to the event hoping for the same thing. As the event kicks off, every single woman there lines up to speak with our guy, each of them getting a valuable 5 minutes to get to know him. But eventually, he ends up confessing to the organizers that he reverse engineered the selection algorithms to make himself look like the perfect candidate. Still, despite all that effort, every woman who talks to him gradually loses interest one by one. Meanwhile, Mary Beth arrives at what used to be King's house. When she notices that his belongings have already been packed up and taken away, she asks, somewhat anxiously, where all the papers and notes are, the ones he clearly used to have pinned up on the walls. As she goes through these documents, she finds photos of corpses, tons of handwritten notes, and a cover letter from the Harvard Neuroscience Academy with Christian Wolff's name written on the back of it. Our protagonist, meanwhile, is already at home getting ready for dinner with his usual meticulous routine. At that very moment, Mary Beth dials the number printed on the business card, hoping to get in touch with Christian Wolff. But the night shift receptionist has no idea how to answer her questions about the guy's whereabouts. However, we see Justine is listening in on the call. She's the real operator behind the accountant, and Mary Beth knows it. And when she tells her the tragic news about Raymond King's death, Justine is left completely stunned. At the same time, we catch up with the leader of the hitmen who took out King. He's closing a few shady deals before talking to one of his guys. He's visibly pissed. He thought his team could handle taking down just one woman, and he can't understand how they screwed it up. He needs Anais buried 6 feet under all, because he knows she's coming for him. He remembers how during a past encounter, the hit woman spared his life because she didn't recognize him as one of her targets. But now he's convinced she's gonna come back to finish the job, so he gives the order, take her out no matter what it takes. Mary Beth, for her part, tries to pick up the investigation King left unfinished. She's working off the clues she's managed to gather so far. Suddenly, she finds herself face to face with Christian Wolff, and she recognizes him right away as one of those trained by the cartel networks. She tells him she's well aware of the kind of damage he's capable of causing, but she also knows the full extent of his skill set. That's why she agrees to meet with him to talk about Raymond's investigation and the puzzle he's been trying to piece together. Christian looks over a photo of the Sanchez family, though he doesn't know who they are. Side by side with Mary Beth, he starts going through the details of all the corpse photos King had collected, each one showing gruesome, awful deaths. As the hours go by, the two of them try to draw connections between the victims, cross-referencing the few bits of data they've got. But Christian's really just waiting for Mary Beth to finish her part so he can step in and do what he does best, in the only way he knows how. Early the next morning, when Mary Beth wakes up on the couch, she notices that Wolff has completely reorganized all the information they had. He's gone ahead and sorted all the data into groups, trying to make sense of how they connect to each other. He breaks it down for Mary Beth, who's clearly confused, telling her the whole thing seems to revolve around the Sanchez family, folks who fled El Salvador and hopped on a freight train, climbing up onto the roof right at the Mexico border. He's managed to figure out how much time passed between the kid in that family photo and the same kid in another picture, now all alone. Plus, he dug up the name Edith, a lady working at a pizza factory, so they decide to head there to keep their investigation rolling. So they roll up to the factory with a plan to talk straight to the boss and ask about where Edith might be. The guy, interestingly surrounded by bodyguards, claims he doesn't know her or anything about her, says he's sorry he can't help. But then Wolff gets his attention by dropping some info about the company's finances. Surprised, the boss agrees to talk taxes, sure everything's legit. But within seconds, Christian spots inconsistencies. The dude's been falsifying income to cover up money coming from some other source. Christian demands to know what illegal business he's running, but when the businessman steps up pissed off by the interference, the accountant shuts him down with scary precision, taking out all his bodyguards with no trouble, uses the bare minimum to fully lock him down, then focuses back on the boss, forcing him to admit he's laundering money and demanding to know where it's coming from. With nowhere left to go, the man admits he's not trafficking people directly, but says he's got a contact named Tomas, someone they should be investigating. As they walk away, Mary Beth's upset with Christian's tactics, saying they're straight up unacceptable. She reminds him she works as a deputy director at a government agency and ain't authorized to use torture. She tells him flat out to stop with the violence from here on out. Knowing they gotta keep pushing the case, Mary Beth insists they focus on the little they do have. She wonders if the FBI has someone who can help him out, and Christian says he's got just the perfect contact. Right then, the story switches over to Berlin, Germany, where we see Braxton, his brother, staying in a fancy hotel. He's practicing how to talk to some lady named Margaret, but none of his tries seem to work because something's holding him back from talking naturally. Soon enough, we find out he's trying to adopt a puppy, but the woman won't give it up just yet because the dog's still too young. He spends the rest of the day keeping himself busy with different activities, trying hard to make the hours fly by quickly, until suddenly, out of nowhere, he gets a call from his brother who's in need of some serious help. At first, Christian just hangs up on him, but he doesn't give up, and when he finally manages to get through to Braxton, his brother sounds annoyed and a little stressed out, reminding Christian that the last time he helped him, he nearly wrecked his own career. Braxton just can't understand why this time it's Christian reaching out to him, when usually it's always the other way around. He even feels kind of offended that the call's only about asking for help, with no real interest in checking on how he's actually doing. Our guy asks if Braxton can be in Los Angeles within less than 24 hours, but instead of answering, Braxton just coldly hangs up the phone on him. So there in Los Angeles, we see Christian waiting for his brother to show up. He tells Mary Beth that he hasn't seen Braxton in 8 years and warns her that for some reason, Braxton always seems pissed off at him. She suggests that when he finally sees him, he should let Braxton know how happy he is to be reunited and thank him for pitching in. But when Braxton arrives and meets Mary Beth, he immediately starts doubting the whole plan, because he doesn't trust the feds at all. Pretty soon, Braxton asks to speak with Christian in private, and following Mary Beth's advice, Christian thanks him for being there, but Braxton quickly figures out it was Mary Beth who told Christian to say that. To get the plan rolling, Braxton reaches out to 3 escorts that the pizza factory owner had told Christian about. Meanwhile, Mary Beth watches everything from a separate room in the hotel where they're all staying. When the women knock on the protagonist's door, Braxton tells Christian to stay quiet so he can handle the situation without any interruptions. He asks Christian to move to another corner of the room, and when the women come in, he pays them right away. Then he hits them with a straight-up question. What would happen if, in the middle of their service, something went wrong, like an unwanted touch or some disrespect they just couldn't stand? The question immediately makes the women uncomfortable, and they start to suspect that something's off. But Braxton's real goal is to find out the name of the guy who steps in to deal with situations like that, someone who protects them if things get out of control. While some of the women think it's time to bounce, one of them believes Braxton might actually be able to help them. When Christian jumps in and mentions that the guy's name is Tomas, the tension between the women visibly thickens. In the end, 2 of the women decide to leave, fully aware that these guys are after more than just a simple service. Only one of the girls agrees to get involved and share information, but not before making it very clear that her involvement is worth way more than just a stack of cash, since she's putting her own life seriously at risk here. After they finally manage to convince her with a hefty sum, she admits that Tomas is a very dangerous man, and she wishes with every fiber of her being that they would hurt him badly. Then, the woman calls him up on the phone and tells him that her clients don't want to let them go. She gives him the room number where she's supposedly being held, but before he gets there and figures out it's all a scam, she uses the money and the little time she has left to get as far away as she possibly can. Before the guy shows up, Mary Beth gets on the line with her team to check if there's any new information. On the other end, one of the agents sends her a video captured by a traffic camera. In the footage, you see Raymond King walking into the bar where he ended up dying. After spending about 45 minutes inside, he walks out surrounded by a stampede of people, which makes it really tough to identify who exactly was responsible for his death. Mary Beth is also informed that Emiliano Gonzalez, one of Raymond's clients and the father of Edith Sanchez, was brutally wiped out. The agent explains to Mary Beth that 7 years ago, the man had reported his entire family missing. Some of the intel they've gathered reveals that the cartels kidnap migrants, either to demand ransom money or to sell them off to traffickers. When Mary Beth sees what happens when families can't pay up, she recognizes a chilling face in a photograph. Gino Sanchez. His lifeless body was found lying on top of at least a dozen other buried corpses. At that moment, Mary Beth hangs up the call because the supposed Tomas is arriving at the room to take the girls away. But in an attempt to get information faster, Braxton hits him so hard that he crashes down all the way to the parking lot floor. Knowing the guy is still alive, they rush to lock him in the trunk of a car to interrogate him and find out if he knows who took out Raymond King. However, Mary Beth isn't on board with that plan. She's worried the cops might stop them and search the vehicle. Right away, our main guy contacts Justine, asking her to manipulate the traffic lights along their route and make sure they're all green so they can avoid any police checkpoints. He also asks her for information about who Raymond met with that last night. Early the next morning, Justine and her team gear up at Harbor Academy, getting ready to track a person using every single security camera spread all over the city. Meanwhile, back at the King house, our main crew is wondering just how the hell they're gonna get Tomas to open up and talk. For Braxton, the answer is pretty straightforward. They can just torture the guy until he breaks and confesses everything. But right then, Justine steps in, showing them some fresh video footage and new angles caught by security cameras that might have recorded King's death. That's how they managed to spot a strange woman who didn't seem scared at all. Anais just walked casually right through the middle of the shootout like nothing was going down. Everyone agrees to follow her trail, but when they realize this woman knew exactly where the cameras were placed and how to avoid them, they change tactics and decide to track down and hack the phone of a young girl nearby who happened to snap a selfie at the exact moment this unknown woman walked behind her. Quick on the draw, this group of young people identifies the girl who took the selfie and locates her home. They get access to her electronic devices and distract her long enough to sneak into her photo gallery through the cloud. However, Mary Beth immediately calls out this whole operation as completely illegal and disapproves of it on the spot. She tries to stop the kids, but it's no use. They're determined to finish what they started. Fast, they grab the photo they need and disconnect from the woman's devices. Right away, they enhance the image quality and run facial recognition, which matches a record Interpol has on file. This links the woman to some horrific cases involving bodies found all over the world, the exact same photos Raymond King had been collecting for his investigation. Whatever her name is, that woman was the last person to speak with King, and it's clear she doesn't want to be found. With more questions piling up than answers, Mary Beth can't understand why Raymond would meet with the killer behind all those bodies just to track down a family. Braxton, for his part, believes this hit woman wasn't responsible for every single death, and inadvertently admits he himself caused some of those tragedies. That confession hits Mary Beth hard. Marking a breaking point, she decides to walk away, unwilling to stay tangled up with people who have such a lack of ethics. She starts up her car, ready to bounce, but then remembers there's a man locked in the trunk. She turns back inside to call Christian out on his unacceptable methods and warns him she's going to continue the investigation on her own. Finally, she leaves, but not without threatening to return to the property, hoping they won't be there when she shows up again. Meanwhile, down in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, we see an entire community held captive by an armed gang. Among those being held captive is Alberto, the son of Gino and Edith Sanchez, caught up in this dangerous situation. A couple of days later, we see Mary Beth accompanied by a lawyer, fully prepared and determined to file charges against Tomas for a whole bunch of crimes. Their goal is to intimidate him enough so he agrees to make a deal, confessing the crimes he committed under the orders of his boss in exchange for his own immunity from prosecution. In this way, Tomas admits he knows Edith and reveals that the woman suffered a serious car accident some years ago. But just as he's about to finish giving his statement and officially include her name in the report, one of the hitmen opens fire with a sniper rifle, trying to take out everyone in the room. Luckily, only Mary Beth and her lawyer manage to survive and escape with their lives. Meanwhile, our main characters spend the afternoon together. While Braxton is trying to relax and decompress, Christian focuses on digging up information on possible car accidents from the past 5 years, looking for any incident where Edith might have been hurt. Once Christian finishes a phone call, they try to start a more personal conversation, stepping away from the mission for a bit. Braxton asks his brother why it seems like he doesn't miss him when they're apart. After all, Braxton searched for Christian for years, but Christian never even made the effort to look for him. Braxton wants to know if that coldness comes from Christian being a bad person, or if it's some kind of emotional limitation that comes from who he is. Christian responds calmly, explaining that his way of perceiving the world doesn't allow him to actually experience the feeling of missing someone, a statement that somehow manages to calm Braxton down and ease his mind a bit. As night falls, they arrive at a club with live music, planning to get drunk and blow off some steam. While Braxton talks nonstop, Christian can't stop staring at a woman dancing on the floor. When she notices him checking her out, she walks over, introduces herself as Angie, and asks what song he wants the band to play. Of course, Christian's answers don't really fit the country vibe of the place. When when he admits he can't seem to connect with her, Braxton gets frustrated. The conversation was flowing smoothly, and there was no question the girl approached him with obvious intentions of flirting. Braxton tries to explain how Christian should have responded, but Christian reminds him that his brain just doesn't work the same way. Then all of a sudden, right in the middle of their chat, Christian gets up, steps onto the dance floor, and carefully counts his steps to each side. He moves to position himself next to Angie, forcing himself to dance with her. From his seat, Braxton feels nothing but pride. He knows exactly how tough it is for his brother to put himself out there and join in on something like that. However, right when the song ends and everyone's out there celebrating having danced their hearts out, this dude approaches Christian with some serious aggressive vibes, straight up claiming he's dating Angie and that he doesn't want nobody messing with her. Now our main guy, fully aware of how much his brother loves a good fight, starts provoking the guy real subtle-like, baiting him to throw a punch. That's when Braxton steps in, and after a wild scuffle that ends with both guys getting tossed right out the window, the two brothers bounce from the club, laughing their asses off as they make their getaway. Meanwhile, over at the University Medical Center, Mary Beth's on a mission trying to find out if Edith ever passed through there a few years back, because she still has zero clue where this woman might be hiding and desperately needs some kind of lead. After convincing the doc to show her the records, Mary Beth uncovers that Edith suffered a pretty serious car accident where she busted her skull and broke a whole bunch of bones. Before going into surgery, Edith was delirious, rambling that she'd been attacked. Due to all the heavy damage to her face, she had to undergo a full facial reconstruction plus a long, tough neuro rehab process since she'd lost nearly all her memory. By the time they managed to stabilize her, the doctors noticed something unusual. Edith showed signs of savant syndrome, which is a rare condition where after a major brain injury, the patient suddenly develops extraordinary skills they never had before. In Edith's case, she straight up became a chess prodigy overnight. Still, no one can figure out why her memory wiped clean entirely, or why her personality flipped so drastically. See, Edith wasn't playing chess like some master strategist. She was playing like she was fighting for survival. In the footage, her aggression is crystal clear. She's battling tooth and nail to win, but even more so, she's fighting just to survive each damn game. Her instincts sharpened to the max, and one night at the hospital, she even went berserk and brutally attacked a security guard in a desperate bid to escape. Mary Beth's desperate to know if Edith holds on to any memories at all. The doctor who treated her shows Mary Beth a recording where Edith doesn't answer questions about her family straight up. Instead, she starts singing this weird, haunting song that, to the docs, doesn't seem to mean anything, yet it's the only response they get about her past. Right then, we cut to Justine and her crew sneaking into the doctor's computer, quietly extracting all those files without anyone noticing a thing. Back with the Wolff brothers, we find out the mob boss Braxton works for has given him a nasty order to take Mary Beth out. It's a mission that makes Braxton seriously uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Christian is trying to make sense of the words spoken by the escort who agreed to help them. He thinks it over, real deep, about the fact that Edith is still alive, and yet she never once called her own father. He notices something else too. The only photo they got of Alberto doesn't look like it was taken at some school or innocent place. Nah, it looks like it was snapped inside a prison. And almost by accident, he stumbles on the brutal truth that his own brother's gotta take Mary Beth out, gotta end her life. Right away, our guy guns it, speeding through the night, desperate to get to her in time. He tells Justine to hit up Mary Beth with a warning, and Justine takes the chance to let Mary Beth know they finally found Edith Sanchez's location. On top of that, she spills that Raymond King wasn't killed for looking for Edith. No, the real reason is that he had already found her. At that very moment, we see Anais, the hit woman, breaking into Mary Beth's Airbnb, gun in hand. But Justine's heads up gives Mary Beth just enough time to brace herself. Even though Anais manages to break free from Mary Beth's grip, what follows is a brutal showdown where Mary Beth is clearly outmatched. She ain't got the same kind of combat training. Desperate, Mary Beth grabs a knife to defend herself, but Anais flips it on her quick and wounds her with ease. Then something hits Anais hot. She sees a family photo taped to the wall, and suddenly these terrible memories flood her mind. See, Anais is actually Alberto's mother, the real Edith. Her mind drifts back to those horrific days when she, her family, and other migrants got caught up in the grip of Mexican cartels. A ruthless mobster named Berg murdered her husband right in front of her eyes. Her dog Daydream gets snapped back to reality when Christian bursts into the place, gun drawn. Justine helped him figure out that Anais is actually Edith Sanchez, but she insists she's not that woman anymore. Still, Christian tells her he believes her son Alberto is locked up in a camp over in Juarez, Mexico. Without another word, Anais just walks away. Meanwhile, Berg orders one of his goons to head to Juarez and move all the kids out into the desert, wiping out any evidence that might tie them to him. The thug's horrified, but he reluctantly agrees to the order. Now, Christian's more determined than ever to make the trip to Juarez to save Alberto and every kid he can find. They start getting ready to go, but Braxton doesn't really get why his brother's so hell-bent on this. He feels it in his bones. Alberto Sanchez is as alone as he ever was. Christian, on the other hand, ain't convinced it's a good idea. He reminds Braxton that he's always been the one cleaning up the messes caused by a troubled brother. That sparks a serious argument, because let's be real, their differences are wide as the Hudson. Even so, Braxton finally agrees to roll with him on the trip down to Juarez. even though he knows deep down they're probably just gonna find death waiting for them. A couple hours later, our main players keep pushing on their way to Juarez when Justine breaks the news that the kids are about to be wiped out in just minutes. The whole scene shakes her up real bad, hits her deep, and she even turns off the monitor so none of the kids have to see that kind of horror happen. With that, the team gears up, loading every piece of firepower they got. Christian thanks Braxton for riding with him and keeps pushing that they gotta hurry, gotta get to the camp as fast as they can. As soon as they arrive, the shots start flying and chaos explodes everywhere. In the middle of all the madness, we see Alberto break away from the group to hide once again inside the dorms. All these guys try hard to take out the intruder van that just rolled into the shelter, but the Wolff brothers don't even flinch at the barrage of bullets hitting their ride since they're hiding somewhere else, where they managed to take down almost all their attackers. Meanwhile, Alberto gets found and brought back together with the other kids, all under Christian's watchful eye. Once all the minors are together, the bad guys see no reason to stick around. They start up the buses and cars and peel out, following Burke's orders. The gunfight keeps raging for our heroes, who shoot with everything they got to take down these monsters. They use the surroundings as cover to stay alive and push the mission forward. When they spot a truck, a plan forms. Though they don't know yet the kids' time is running out, they throw up a thick wall of smoke, blinding the enemies and blocking their vision, stopping them from seeing the advance. But from a distance, the hitman in charge lines up a perfect shot on Braxton, hitting him with several rounds. To get Braxton out of the crossfire, Christian drags him to a safer spot and checks he's okay. But Braxton tells him to keep going, to carry on with the mission and save the kids, promising he can handle whatever's left. Brave as hell, even hurt, Braxton jumps into hand-to-hand fighting with the attackers so Christian can escape because their guns are out of bullets. Just when Braxton seems totally outmatched, Christian bursts in, taking down the last standing criminal and saving his brother. Meanwhile, the bus packed with kids reaches its destination, and the brothers rush to get there quick, but the kids are already being unloaded and marched toward the pit where they've been ordered to stay. From a distance, a truck rolls up fast, trying to stop that tragic ending. With an impressive move, the Wolff brothers manage to get close and take out as many bad guys as they can, but one of those creeps hides inside the bus, so Christian has to be real careful when he goes in to finish the job. The attacker gets distracted when he spots Alberto hiding again inside the bus and tries to use the kid as a human shield. Just when he least expects it, Braxton strikes from outside, giving his brother the opening to end this nightmare once and for all. Christian confirms the boy is Alberto Sanchez and tries to comfort him, telling him he's okay and safe now. Meanwhile, Braxton heads over to the pit where the rest of the kids are still alive. Relieved to see they're all okay, he tells them to get up so they can finally get out of there. And that's how we see them leaving that hellhole on the bus. Though on the way, Braxton asks his brother to stop when he spots a little kitten right in the middle of the street. The cat doesn't run away when they get close, which means Braxton just found himself a new companion for his lonely life. Meanwhile, over in the Czech Republic, Braxton's mafia boss gets a mysterious call from someone who seems to know everything about him. Justine's gathered so much info that now she's in a position to threaten him, demanding he cancel the hit on Maribeth Medina, cause she needs Anais to travel to Costa Rica and take out Bert, who is planning a few days off for vacation. Back on the other side, Maribeth has recovered and started tearing down all the corrupt operations linked to the case, starting with the so-called pizza factory. At that moment, she calls the Harbor Academy to thank Justine for her valuable help, while Justine gets ready with the other kids to welcome Alberto at the academy. A couple days later, we catch our main players arguing over who gets to pet the cat longer, cause Alberto doesn't know when he's supposed to give the cat back to Braxton, even though he knows exactly how far they still gotta go to Harbor. Finally, our protagonist suggests to his brother that after dropping Alberto off, they should do something fun, maybe a little trip or an outing, a move that marks the start of a fresh, solid bond between the two of them.